what is the law of attraction? It's a law of attraction is ultimately that you get whatever you have been focusing on, whatever you are focused on, you are continuing to create experiences in your life that match up with your belief system. And so the only way that, the mind or, we're constantly thinking thoughts all through.
Yeah. I lay on the scare, you gotta glow. You gotta glow. She had my attention, she gotta know.
I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of the Let's Gather podcast. I'm your host Zeke, and in this episode I have Victoria Gallagher to speak about the law of attraction. You can find more information about her by clicking the link in the description below. I'd like to have a content warning for your language used in this episode, and hope you have a nice day and enjoy the show. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
No
Thank you.
problem. So I'll let you introduce yourself to the audience, and then we can get started.
Oh, sure. Well, thank you so much for having me on the Gather podcast. I'm really, really happy to be here. And looks like you have a really good, group of people that you're presenting to. So, a little bit about me, my background. So I'm a certified hypnotherapist, been certified for the last 22 years. But, in addition to that, I'm a public speaker, coach, author of 4 books, and I have my own hypnosis app called HypnoCloud, which we're totally in the process of rebranding, rebuilding everything from the ground up. And it's going to be like the million subscriber app when it's all done. But going back to like how I became where I am right now. I was on a total different path, total different trajectory. I was in the world of finance. I was a financial consultant, otherwise known as a stockbroker. And I, for a while, I really, really loved what I did. And, I was making great money. I had my own house. I was married. I, had couple cats and everything seemed to be really going well until it wasn't. Like one day, not one day, but just kind of like over a little period of time, I just really fell out of love with what I thought at the time was a dream job. And it's really heartbreaking when that happens because you think like this is what I studied for. This is what I worked for. This is, like I should be happy. What's the matter with me? And, I found out very quickly that money does not make you happy. You have to be happy in order to make money ultimately. Otherwise, you just can't keep doing the thing that was making you that money. And so I kind of, it was really, really hard because I was, I didn't go to college, and yet I was in a job that ultimately requires a college education. So there was also just this part of me like, what the heck, am I going to do to be, to be successful and to keep this whole lifestyle going that I had. And so I went to therapy for a little bit because I was all wigged out and had all these, anxiety attacks and really just going through a lot. And she recommended that I take this intense 4-day seminar retreat. So I did. And during those 4 days, it was just this really looking inward and doing all these really cool mind techniques, visualizations and meditations and these just really, really cool where, you like literally connect with the super conscious and all of these really cool things. And I decided in that moment over those 4 days that, I have to do something like this. Like, I want to help people to experience this transformation that I was going through. And I didn't know exactly what it looked like at the time, but fast forward to, about a year or so later, I found myself looking to create the largest hypnotherapy website. And I, didn't know if it was going to be meditations or visualizations or hypnotherapy. But I stumbled upon a hypnotherapy certification training, and it was starting up in like 2 weeks, like right where I lived, a couple miles down the street. So it was just like perfect. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. And literally took the classes. A couple months later, I find myself opening up my own office and was going to see clients. And I thought I was going to do this like as a side hustle for a little while. But my branch manager, where I was a broker, found out what I was doing and basically gave me an ultimatum and said, choose. And choose between this, this life of, making a 6-figure income, kind of doing, what you don't really want to do, or following your dream and making no money right now on that. And, which way do you go? And it's kind of a question I think everybody hits a crossroads many times in their life. You hit that crossroads where you make one decision and it's going to change the whole trajectory of your life forever. And, that was that moment. And I, left that office with my head held high, not really know exactly what it was going to look like. But that was over 22 years ago. And here I am, a #1 best-selling author with, books on Amazon, and teaching my own seminar trainings and helping other people to make the same kind of transition that I was transitioning in way back in the day. And so that's my origin story.
Nice. Before we break that down, would you um how would you like to represent it? Would you make a book or TV series?
I would say to properly give people a 3D understanding of that whole story. I would love to make that into a movie. That I definitely see that playing out in a movie. I mean, it could definitely be a book. A lot of movies do start off as books, but I would definitely say, a movie, give the whole 3D, sitting down. It's just like, adding the little music, like cueing the dun, dun, dun music and all of that. So yeah, I would say movie.
Got it. So let's get into it. So what kind of like drew you into like mindfulness and hypnosis and everything like that?
What drew me into the whole mindfulness, honestly, I had a little bit of training in it prior to that seminar. And what really drew me into it for the first time was, so I, was a kid that was made fun of in school throughout my entire elementary. And, and kind of got a little bit more popular, I guess, in not popular, like I was never really popular, but, at least the kids weren't like, calling me icky, Vicky, sticky, dicky, all the bad things. And, and then a little bit better in high school. But anyway, all that led to like a little bit of a lack of self-confidence. It's my mom sent me this book called Total Self-Confidence by Dr. Robert Anthony. And in that book, there were a lot of mindfulness, visualization, self-hypnosis, you name it. He even talked about the law of attraction. I mean, way back when I was, I guess I was 18, 19 when I first read this book. And so I really just started to get this curiosity for it back then. And I gobbled up every word in that book. I did all the homework assignments in that book. And I created a vision for myself. The vision didn't quite turn out exactly the way it was then, because back then I wanted to be a singer, wanted to be a rock star. And I did actually start to, after reading that book, I did create a band. I did start to pursue that dream, but that was one of those things that changes in my life as well, later on down the road. And so I had a little bit of a taste of that, of what that mindfulness was all about. And then I seemed to kind of like get myself involved in that whole corporate arena. And I just put that on the back shelf for a little while. And so when I went to that seminar, the life-changing seminar, we, started doing the mindfulness techniques again in there. And I'm like, oh yeah, I really like this. This is really cool. And so that's really what inspired me.
Got it. And when people come to you for like coaching and everything like that, what can they expect? What is like the first thing they should do?
So usually I help people to get a sense of awareness, because without being aware of what we're doing or why we're doing it, or just really bringing awareness to people's vocabulary, so much of why we create what we are creating in our life, it really starts with how we're thinking. And so I get a really good idea and feel for how people are thinking based on what they're saying to me. So I just have them talk to me a little bit about, like, what is your goal? And if they don't really have a goal, I ask them other questions about what their passions are, what their values are, what they're really good at. And I help people to just kind of really become aware of what it is that they desire. And I'll just really go through a series of questioning. I mean, everybody's a little different. Every person's a little unique. So their starting place is a little different, a little bit different from the last person. But that's usually, it's about bringing that awareness and that clarity to the moment is really the good, starting point. And once we have that sense of awareness, then we start to really make some changes in the thinking and the way that they have a dominant way of feeling, a dominant vibration. And, we can only really attract up to the level of our thinking and our vibration and our belief system. And so I really help people to identify what are the beliefs and the feelings and the thoughts that are getting in their way, and help them to reverse those and rewire the brain to help them to take the necessary actions to bring and to notice what's around them, to bring in what they want in their life.
Sorry about that. And how is that realization for people when they kind of like have that aha moment of when they realize what they really want?
What is that aha moment like, you're asking?
Yeah.
Oh, it's really, so it changes based on the person. I mean, sometimes it takes a little while for a person to recognize that they are even having an aha moment. Like sometimes it comes on a little subtle. And so we have to dive into it a little deeper, and so that they recognize, yeah, this is that moment that everything's changing. And it's really exciting. It's really exhilarating. I literally 15 minutes before this podcast, or half an hour before this podcast, just got done with one of those aha moments with a client. And, it was just like, we were on session 4. And she's like, this is the best session so far. And it's like, we're just having a conversation. For me, it's just a conversation. But for them, it's everything. And it's enlightening, and it's like it's freeing, and they start to really sense that anything is really possible. And when you understand really that, like, yeah, every single thing is possible, I mean, that's exciting.
Definitely. And sorry if I'm all over the place, but like, so for the law of attraction, what is that?
What is the law of attraction? It's a law of attraction is ultimately that you get whatever you have been focusing on. Whatever you are focused on, you are continuing to create experiences in your life that match up with your belief system. And so the only way that, the mind, or, we're constantly thinking thoughts all throughout the day, but so many of our thoughts are based on, negative things maybe that happened to us in the past. And so we have to ultimately focus on things that we do want rather than on what we don't want, in order to create an experience of more of what we do want. But you create your life essentially based on your thinking, but it's more than that, because the thinking leads to a certain feeling, and the feelings lead to certain actions, and those actions are what produce the results.
Yeah, no, a lot of times people just stop at the thinking part and they don't apply like the actions to get what they want.
Exactly. And that's why a lot of people have a really hard time understanding the law of attraction, because they'll be like, I've been saying these affirmations, I've been saying, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich. Okay. And they probably saying it just like that with that much enthusiasm. And so that little, that you have to actually do a whole lot more than just repeating affirmations, and especially affirmations that aren't even really true for you. So like sometimes people are just, they're saying their affirmations, or they're doing their journaling or whatever, but they're lying to themselves. And when you lie to yourself, you're actually kind of going backward. And so there's a lot more to it. It's simple, but it's not easy. It's like, even I, to this day, there's habits that I want to instill, and I want to be consistent with, to get me to my next level. And, getting up at 5 every morning, and going into my meditation room, and journaling, and taking the time to like really get into that feeling state, and doing the mental visualization work. There's most of it takes place in your mind, but then you have to take it to the next level by actually taking action on, the intuitive insights that that you're given. And, no one ever said that this stuff is easy, but but it works if you work it.
Yeah, definitely. It's like the way I see it is like it's helping people stay focused, and then when the opportunity does come, they're prepared, or they notice that there is an opportunity, and not like years later, like, oh, there was the opportunity, I could have made that decision.
It's so true. I've had so many encounters like that where, sometimes almost every single time I've manifested something, it seemed like I was going backward, because like something usually has to kind of crack open in order for you to make room for what it is that you wanted. Like if my app that I'm rebuilding and recreating, wasn't at some point ever having some coding issues, or some problems, or some breakdowns, or some complaints, or something like that, then I would have never really opened the door to explore like just what it could be. Like I was just kind of getting by with the app in its present state, and I was kind of accepting all these certain limitations about it. And now that, really just kind of cracked that whole door open, like now I can really see what's possible. And it's just like that with so many things. I mean, with manifesting my house to manifesting my soulmate, there's just so many things that just like they seem like they were going backward, but they were really going forward.
It's like that reset. Then it's like a reset you need.
Yeah, it really is. It's a reset, and it's like out with the old, in with the new. So a lot of times, people are in dysfunctional situations with their job, with their relationships, with people, and they're clinging to some reality, and yet they're trying to manifest a new reality. Well, you can't manifest the new reality unless you let go of the present reality, or even, even the way that you're manifestation will happen. And a lot of times people think they know the exact how it's going to happen, but the how is going to happen is coming from an old pattern of thinking. So we have to be able to get into and allow for a new pattern of thinking to emerge. And that new pattern of thinking knows how to manifest that. So you have to become the new person that's going to manifest that. You can't manifest something new from this old you, the old level of thinking. That's why it's all about, to me, law of attraction is really more about personal development. It's becoming the person who's in alignment with your dreams and your goals. Because if you were already in alignment, then you'd have them. So you've got to get into alignment in order to have them.
Yeah, for me, I remember when I first started the podcast, I was getting to the groove, and then I was like, why didn't I start this in 2014 when I first learned about podcasts? But then I
Yeah.
realized I wasn't ready at the time. I didn't know as many people, and I didn't have that many skills. So then the
Yeah.
idea came later in life when I was ready.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Yeah. Things, I mean, and things change all the time. I mean, if I held on to the idea that I was going to be, a rock star, I would not have been able to evolve into, into doing this, which to me, this is just as great as if I were a rock star. I still get to make recordings and I still get to perform and I still get to inspire people and do all the things and do something that I feel really passionate about.
Definitely. And so when you made that decision to fully jump into this and leave your six-figure job, was that a tough decision?
You know, um, Interestingly enough, I was in such a high level frequency at that time that I knew 100% what the decision needed to be. And so making the decision wasn't hard at all. Like I knew from the moment he gave me 30 days, he said, you could, take the next 30 days to think about this. And the only thing I was doing over those 30 days was trying to strategize how to how to make it a smoother landing. Unfortunately, the strategy that I was thinking about completely backfired, and so I really had to like jump into the deep end of the water with no money. And it's one of those moments like your heart is beating like up out of your chest, but you just know that you're making the right decision. And what came after, for the next year and a half was a pretty hard road because I still hadn't had it. I was still a baby. Like I was still a law of attraction student in training. And most people are still a law of attraction student in training. You always will be, as long as you're living on this earth, because no one can actually see behind the magic veil of their future and all of the things that we're going to contend with and all of the challenges. And I didn't have access to that at all either. And I didn't know all of the limiting beliefs and things that would come up for me along the way and all the little challenges that I would face. I mean, like literally right after I quit my job, I had a lung collapse and I had ended up in the hospital with no insurance for about 10 days. And so I racked up about $30,000 in debt. And then my ex-husband decided to file bankruptcy and all of his old debts became my debts. And all of these things were piling up on me. And all of a sudden I end up in all this debt that I wasn't expecting to happen as a new business owner with like no income coming in. So it wasn't even so much that I was even irresponsible with money. It was just like a lot of little things were just kind of happening. And I really just feel like in a way, it was like the universe kind of testing me to make sure that I was clear that I was doing this. And, so I contended with a lot, but all of those things kind of messed with my mind a little bit, like, why is this happening to me? And things like that, and kind of making me feel disempowered. And one day I just took a look at that, and I took a look at this isn't happening to you. Like this, all of these things are just story. It's just part of your story. It's just part of what you're meant to experience and overcome. And you're never given anything that is more difficult to overcome than you're equipped to handle. And so once I really kind of took a look, took responsibility, I'm creating this, I can create anything I want. I began to really change. And so all of those were really meant for my growth and really meant for me to be able to soar to the next level. So the long story short, the decision wasn't hard. The challenges along the way were difficult, and and then I overcame them.
Definitely. I'm always like, if things are starting to work out, that means you're doing the right thing. It's like if it's falling in place without you doing something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I remember from high school, like a poster was like, "Be wary of thoughts because no, be wary of words become thoughts, thoughts become feelings, feelings become actions, and actions become habits."
They do. Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to keep, you're right. You have to keep taking the same actions consistently, and they do eventually become hardwired into who you are.
And then with all that, you're like all the hardships and everything. Like, I come each time one came, did you? I know you said like you felt like everything was like, why is it happening to me? Then you kept pushing
Yeah.
through it, but it's like, how does one keep going? It's like,
That is a $1,000,000 question, I think, because like for me, there wasn't any thought otherwise. Like it was, I feel like it was. I wish I could say like I knew exactly how to tell somebody else like how to keep going, but for me there was no quit. There was only tenacity, there was only like I'm going to succeed, like there's no doubt that this is going to work out for me. It's just a matter of for how long am I going to have to put up with this nonsense that I was dealing with. And and that was also just another thing too, is I just made up my mind. I just made up my mind that I'm going to make this work, and nothing's going to stand in my way. Nothing will stop me. It was just very much a mindset. And I don't know if I was born with that. Like, I don't even know where that came from, honestly. Like, that's just something that I just have, that tenacity, that determination, that persistence. And, it's just just luckily part of who I am.
mhm. And then we can switch like books writing and app and everything. So, what is like the development for creating the app? How's that going?
So that's going, it's, a little slower than I had, initially laid out. So like when we first got together, it was like, okay, we're going to take 2 weeks for the scope of work. We're going to take 3 weeks for the branding and design stuff. We're going to take 11 weeks for the development and a couple weeks for Q&A. And we're about 10 weeks into the project, and we're still in the design phase. So we've got a logo, we've got a new name, we've got the splash page screen created, and now I just had a conversation with my developers earlier today. Monday I'm actually supposed to have my first build, which is blowing my mind. And when I say a build, that means it's just a little prototype development. Like I'll actually be able to, get a little test flight test app, and I'll put on my phone and actually, look through it. And so we'll see. And so they, they're now in the process of all the like the screens and stuff. But there's, with this new app, there's just a lot more that they're going to be getting, and different ways, multiple different ways to pay for the subscription, that I think some of my users will really enjoy, and a lot of top secret things that are going on in the background though. So yeah, it's fun. I have to just keep reminding myself this is fun. I'm paying for this. I'm paying for this. So, I just need to have fun with it.
Yes. And then is it similar to when you create your own, when you start writing your books, anything like that?
Yeah. So I have written 4 books, and, the books, are definitely, a labor of love as well. But those are to me, writing books is much easier than app development, because it's just you writing the book, and you're not really depending on utilizing these special skills that only other people have. And, you like, design is so subjective, and it's like you explain to somebody like, I like these this kind of teal. Well, like, if you you look on these like little color hexes, I mean, there's so many different ways to that somebody might get an idea of what teal actually is in their mind. Anyway, so like when you're writing a book, you all the ideas come from you. You're writing it, and you're writing based on your experience and your knowledge and your skills and your understanding. And so it's much easier. And so I've, the only, the only thing with writing the book is like getting the book cover designed. I don't do that myself, or getting an editor to to edit things, and all of that. To me, I find that really enjoyable and really easy. My biggest, I guess, the biggest challenge is just finding the time to sit down and write. And it's not even, if I'm being honest, it's not even finding the time, because if we're being empowered in our vocabulary, it's making the time and demanding that time and making that a priority. Because if, I could just take Fridays as my writing day, and I plan to do that, but I keep putting things on the schedule on Friday that are not writing my book, my next books.
Got it, got it. And I was just thinking about, what if somebody like you, this might introduce it to you, somebody introduced to you, and they're skeptical about like affirmation and everything. How do you like, what do you do in that situation?
Yeah. Well, if they're skeptical, then I usually ask them where they got their present level of understanding and awareness from. Like, I ask people just to give me an understanding of what you believe right now about this subject, about hypnosis, about law of attraction, about manifesting, about affirmations, whatever it is. And then, most of the time, I will find that people just have bought into a lot of myths and misconceptions, and they've seen certain movies that made things look like magical. And so I'll kind of explain a little bit more how it works. I don't try to convince anybody that something is real that they can't wrap their mind around. I just help them, like, clear it up for themselves. And I'll even ask them, like, just do your own thinking, do your own research, and watch this video or that. But if somebody's just not there, then they're probably not meant for me at that moment. They're not meant to discover this information at this particular time. So I respect that, and I let them go along their journey. And when they're ready, they'll stumble upon the information when it's appropriate for them.
So yeah, we're just talking about not convincing people, we're just letting people figure their own way into mindfulness.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll just ask them about their own information, maybe get them to kind of question where they are feeling, the lack of understanding, the skepticism. and, question that a little bit, help them to question where they got that original information. But, again, like just kind of leaving it to them to like discover it for themselves, because that's how most people, I think, that really they're ready for change is they get to a point where either one of two things happens. Either they reach a point of complete discontent with their life or desperation to change. And most people, and this is the problem when it comes to law of attraction, is that most people who stumble upon law of attraction are stumbling upon it through desperation, which is the biggest motivator for change, is trying to get away from something. So they're already kind of lost, kind of like on this idea of getting away from something, thinking about what they don't want, and so but then they want these immediate, urgent results. And when they're coming from this immediate urgent results, they're also coming from a feeling of lack and scarcity. And all of these feelings and this sense of urgency creates a panic. It creates anxiety. It creates stress, and it creates dis-ease in the body and disharmony. And so they're coming to the law of attraction, expecting the law of attraction outside of them, some magical genie to change them and to make everything all better. And that isn't how, and that sets it up for this disappointment, because, and then, people are attached to this result. Attachment is fear, it's doubt. And so all you're doing, if you believe that you manifest how you feel and how you think, then you're manifesting doubt and fear. You're manifesting more of what you don't want. And people are just like, they don't have the wherewithal. They don't have the understanding that to really be aware of how dysfunctional their thinking is. And when I say dysfunctional, I mean, it's working against them. Their thinking is working against them. So you come to it either through desperation or inspiration. If you're coming to it through inspiration, then you're already a step ahead of the game, because you're already thinking like things are going to work out for me and things are only going to get better. And you're already thinking in a positive way, and you're already feeling inspired and motivated and positive, and all the ways that you need to be feeling to tap into better resources in your brain, to tap into your creativity, to tap into your intelligence, to notice opportunities when they appear. You're not going to notice good opportunities when you're down and depressed and nothing ever good happens to me. But here, law of attraction, here, come and make it better. Well, you have to make yourself better in order to get better. So it's like so ironic, because, people's motivation for stumbling upon this material, so oftentimes it's working against them, and they have to be able to break that cycle and take a look at, the way that they're thinking at a kind of a deeper, more sophisticated level in order to turn that around. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's pretty much more of like, it's not well, this is not a quick process. It's going to take time.
Well, see, it's quicker if you're already like coming to it,
Yeah,
open and positive and not skeptical. Like if you're coming to it and you're skeptical, guess what you're going to attract? More reasons to be skeptical. You're going to attract like the people that say, oh, the law of attraction is just BS. You know what? I am not even going to try to change that person, because they're creating their own reality, they're creating the reality that it's BS. And so that's fine. They can just continue to do that. If they want to come, if they want to ask questions, get curious, like, why isn't this working for me? How can you help me to make this better? Then I'm all about helping people, but I'm not going to get into that kind of fight with them because they're already using law of attraction to prove to themselves that it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like if you're looking for something, you're gonna find it, and then in that time of finding it, you're gonna miss other things.
Exactly. Exactly.
Definitely. Are there any other things I didn't ask that you want to talk about?
Other than, you know what? I do for those people in your audience who, found themselves like intrigued about how they can amplify the law of attraction and how they can like really, I mean, one way to speed it up is to immerse yourself in the process. Like, your environment, being in a certain environment, being around certain people that are positive, like-minded, that are getting results, that's one of the best ways to really make this stuff work for you. Because like your environment, if you surround yourself with a lot of negative people, guess what? You're going to find that rubbing off on you. But if you surround yourself with go-getters and successful people and people who are making a difference and people who are really making it work for themselves, guess what? That's going to rub off on you too. So imagine, surrounding yourself with, I don't know, 20, 25, 50 people over a 3-day intensive where, we're all like really going deep, doing these visualizations, these meditations, and a lot of inner work and journaling and getting clear and all of that. That's what we do at this upcoming event that I'm having in July called the Law of Attraction Intensive. So I'd love to invite your audience who's listening to check out my website, LawofAttractionIntensive.com, and, see if that is something that resonates with you, and come check it out and meet me in person and let me help you to make the law of attraction, help you to manifest your dreams. I just lost your audio. You're muted or something. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
muted. There you go.
Yeah, I forgot. Thank you. So at what level do you become like certified, even though you're still learning all the time?
So, at what level? It basically there are certification trainings that you can take. So you just, you go through a certification training, and at the end, you become certified. And the people actually that go through my law of attraction intensive, I consider them, pretty much certified in law of attraction. I mean, you're gonna come out with a whole new mindset, rewired brain, and a whole new understanding that you did not have before.
And then just going back to what you said about like surround yourself with like positive people. I
Yeah.
remember saying, I remember I was in school, and then when I
Yeah.
felt overwhelmed, if I kept,
Mhm.
I would have to take a break because I stay in that mindset. Then I'm gonna feel overwhelmed and only see myself, and I see no solutions. And then once like just took a break from it, came back later, then I had like I was clear enough to see more solutions.
Wow, you were very insightful as a young kid to know to do that, because some people would just like surrender to their bad negative surroundings and just let that get to them and see no other choice, but you saw another choice for yourself, so good for you.
Thanks. And any questions you want to have for me that you want to say anything? I don't know.
Yeah, well, tell me what inspires you?
What inspires me? Definitely saying just being, well, I say being my best and being the best. So a lot of times I want to, like, if I have like, if I'm doing something, I want to make sure that I put all of it I can into it. So it kind of
Yeah.
inspires me, and I usually stick to things that are within my skill set. So like most of the things I do kind of just blend in with each other.
And if you could do anything you want or be anything you want or have anything you want, that you do not currently have, like what would that be?
I think I just I'll probably do like I say to move out,
Uh-huh.
because then once then that could just be the down effect to everything else. That'd be like that's more like the first step I need. Then everything else can just
Yeah.
follow through.
Yeah. And after you've moved out, what will life be like? Can you imagine what comes next?
This will be an adjustment because it's gonna be the first time on my own. It's like
Yeah.
really, and then after that is mostly just and that adjustment restructuring everything because I want to start like the merch and everything and start doing other stuff.
Uh-huh.
And so it'd be a lot of that, be like more planning. And then once all that's set, then I see what it feels like.
Yeah. Good. Well, you just had just a tiny little preview into what I do in a coaching session with people.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, well, this has been very lively and fun, and you've asked great questions, and I really appreciate being on the show.
Thank you. And the last question is, what would you name your origin story?
Oh yes, I knew that was coming, and I was hoping to have something a little bit more creative by this moment. Um, I would have to say how she let go and manifested everything she ever dreamed of.
Nice.
Yeah. So much of it is in the letting go part too. Like that that definitely gets woven into that. You have to do a lot of letting go.
Thank you for joining the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime. And where can people find you again?
People can find me. My main website is Victoria M as in Marie Gallagher.com, victoriamgallagher.com, and there you'll get access to it all.
That brings another episode of the Let's Get a Podcast to a close. Again, you can find more information about Victoria Gallagher by clicking the link in the description below. For next week, I have Bree on the Nana Beat to speak about mental health. Hope you do that day, and I hope to see you there.